There's this huge challenge, a really fundamental one that I think we all wrestle with, and it's this. How do you live a life that's actually yours, instead of one that somebody else kind of designed for you?
Okay, let's start with a story. A pretty wild one, actually. It's about a guy named Michael Westbrook. I mean, this guy was a superstar, an All-American, a top pick in the NFL draft. He was the guy behind one of the most incredible touchdowns in college football history. He had literally everything you'd think someone would want. And then, at the absolute height of his career, he just walked away, quit. And the reason he gave? He never even liked football.
Wow. I mean, that story just hits you, right? It's so jarring because it makes you immediately turn the question on yourself. He was playing a part, and he was playing it so well that nobody had a clue it wasn't his real dream. Maybe he didn't even know for a while. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of what you and I do every single day is because we truly want to versus what we think we're supposed to do?
And this right here, this quote from Imelda Marcos, man, it just perfectly nails what happens when you're living someone else's script. My dreams have become puny. Think about that. It doesn't matter how successful you look to the rest of the world. If you're not living your truth, your own dreams, they just start to shrivel up. Your life might look full from the outside, but on the inside, it feels, well, small and kind of hollow.
So how does this even happen, right? How do we get to a point where we're just on autopilot, so far from the person we actually wanted to be? Let's dive in and take a look at the mechanism inside all of us that can keep us stuck.
Okay, so the golfer Mo Norman had this really powerful way of thinking about it. He wrote it in a poem. Just imagine for a second that we all have this little robot that follows us around, and from day one, it's just listening and recording. It records everything. Everything our parents say, our teachers say, what society tells us, all the shoulds, what we should be, what we should want, what we should do.
And in the beginning, we're the ones in charge. It's our robot. But then, year after year, we just keep feeding it more and more data. Every expectation, every time someone approves of us, every time we disappoint someone, it all gets logged. And then, something really critical happens. The programming takes over. The thing we built starts running the show.
And that's the really scary part. It's this quiet horror. You wake up one day and you realize you're not the one steering the ship anymore. This program you've built, this mashup of everybody else's voices, it's the one giving the orders now. We've basically put someone else's life plan on autopilot inside our own heads.
Bob Marley had a great phrase for this. He called it an ego trip. And it's this idea that we're not grounded in who we really are. We're just floating out there, a million miles from reality, just putting on a show, performing a version of ourselves we hope everyone will like.
Okay, so breaking free from that, getting off autopilot, it's not easy. Not at all. It means you have to choose a path that feels totally unfamiliar. And let's be honest, it's pretty scary. But here's the bottom line. It's really this simple. To get something you've never had, you gotta do something you've never done. If you want a life that's actually yours, you have to start taking new actions. And a lot of the time, that means doing the exact thing your inner robot was programmed to never, ever do. Like, for instance, disappointing people you've spent your entire life trying to please.
And this slide, this really gets at why this is so hard. There's this great line from Gary Vaynerchuk, the soft skills are the hard skills. Think about it. If you want to get better at a technical skill, like improving your jump shot, it's pretty straightforward. You can watch the game tape. The film gives you the answer. But what about self-knowledge? There's no film session for that. It's messy. It's all internal. There's no clear you're doing it right feedback.
All right, so if it's that difficult, what do we do? Where do we even begin? Let's get into some actual tools. Think of it as a playbook for a quiet personal rebellion. Now, these are not magic bullets, okay? They're not quick fixes. Think of them as 4 key practices to start reprogramming that inner robot. They're like new lines of code you enter, slowly, one by one, to start changing your direction. This isn't about some massive overnight transformation. It's all about small, consistent, intentional steps.
I love this quote from hitting coach Steve Springer. It's meant for baseball, but wow, is it a great metaphor for life. Slow feet, fast hands, quiet head. Slow feet means you move deliberately. You're not frantic. Fast hands means when it's time to act, you act with purpose. But the real secret sauce? Quiet head. That's the whole game right there. It's about tuning out all that noise, all the expectations, so you can finally hear what your own voice is trying to tell you.
And this whole idea of a quiet head isn't some new age thing.
We're talking 2,000 years ago. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus was saying the same thing. Think about it. In a world that is just constantly yelling at you about who you're supposed to be, choosing silence, that's a revolutionary act. Because it's only in that quiet, in that space, that you can even begin to hear yourself think.
Look, when you start down this path, you're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to get pushback. Things are not going to go perfectly. That's a guarantee. The secret is to anchor yourself in the only two things you ever truly have control over: your attitude and your effort. You can't control what other people think or do, but you are always in charge of those two things.
So why go through all this? What's the reward for all this tough internal work? Well, it's a completely different kind of success. A much deeper, more meaningful kind. Let's call it authentic authority.
The formula is actually pretty simple. Competency equals authority. When you get really, really good at something, people listen to you. They trust you. You have authority. Michael Westbrook, for example, was incredibly competent at football, and that gave him a certain type of authority, for sure.
But, and this is the big but, here's the key difference. What Westbrook had was sort of a borrowed authority. It came from playing a part really, really well. True authority, the kind that lasts, the kind that really resonates, that comes when your competency lines up with what you're genuinely passionate about. It's that spark, that magnetic pull you feel from someone who is just completely lit up by what they do.
And why is that so powerful? Well, as Dr. Seuss so perfectly put it, there is literally no one alive who is youer than you. Your unique way of seeing and being in the world, it has real, actual value. This isn't about being selfish. It's about realizing that your specific mix of talents, passions, and quirks, that's something the world actually needs.
And the message from Confucius here is just so clear, isn't it? Stop worrying about whether people know you. Stop chasing approval. Instead, focus your energy on being someone worth knowing. Build a life with depth, with integrity, with authenticity. Do that, and your contribution becomes something no one can ignore.
And really, this is the whole point. This is the uncommon key. Coach Tony Dungy said it best. You were made unique. The passions you have, the dreams that keep bubbling up, they're not mistakes. They're not random. They're basically your roadmap. They're your fingerprints. The real key is just having the guts to actually follow where they lead.
So let's leave it here. The world has more than enough borrowed lives. It has plenty of people living on autopilot. It's never, ever too late to stop playing someone else's game. Never too late to take back your own dreams. The only question left is, what are you going to do with yours?